In today's video, I've got for you 3 mouth-watering cabbage recipes that you've got to try. Cabbage often gets a bad rap. People think it's bland or just simply old-fashioned, and it ends up in a mayonnaise-heavy slaw or forgotten in the back of the fridge. But today, I'll show you how versatile and delicious it can be if you just prepare and cook it the right way. If you're new here, my name is George. I've been a chef for 10 years and I post weekly flavor-packed recipes, so be sure to stick around. White cabbage works so well with Asian flavors as it is fairly bland, so it allows for the sesame, the soy, and the ginger, for example, to really shine through. For all 3 of these recipes, we will actually be shredding the cabbage, so that makes things a little bit easier. So we'll just start by removing the core. I'm using a sweetheart cabbage, but you could use a regular white cabbage, or you could even use a red cabbage. A Savoy cabbage would also work. Then just turn the cabbage onto its flat edge and we're going to finely slice it. Turning it onto its flat edge is just going to make it much easier and safer to slice. You need a wee-wee? Wee-wees. The core of the cabbage you don't need to throw away. I usually just grate it. I've just had this pan preheating for a couple of minutes. It's quite a heavy base pan, so it takes a while to preheat. And then the white onion we'll just simply slice. I'm going in with olive oil and the sliced onions. Turn down the heat now and we're going to add a little pinch of salt. We just want to soften these onions but not really color them too much. As long as you have washed your ginger, then there's no reason to really remove the peel, especially if you're cooking it like we are in this dish. So I just tend to leave it on. Nothing wrong with a little bit of extra fiber, and we're just going to finely chop this ginger. I usually just cut it into little thin batons and then into small cubes. This cabbage is being cooked for quite a long time, so you don't have to be too precise with the cutting. It will all just sort of melt together. I'm not going to go too heavy on the garlic. I'm just going to add 2 cloves, which have been crushed and sliced. I'm going to add the ginger and the garlic as well now. The onions are softened now, so we can go in with our cabbage. Which is going to look like a lot, but cabbage is mostly water, so it will cook down. Really quick, don't worry, I'm not selling you a green powder or a toothbrush. I just wanted to ask that if you're not already part of the Earthy Goodness Kitchen Inside community, you can scan this QR code and sign up. I'm very much at the end of this jar of miso. I'm just going to quickly dilute it with some boiling water. I don't like to add the miso in directly as it can just sort of clump together and not get distributed evenly. So we'll add in that white miso now. A couple tablespoons of light soy sauce, or tamari if you're gluten-free. For acidity, I'm using some rice wine vinegar. I'm also going in with some maple syrup for a little bit of sweetness. You could just use regular sugar though if you wanted. And that's everything. We'll mix it through now so the cabbage is all coated in those lovely seasonings. And then we'll get a lid on this and just slowly cook it until it's beautifully tender. Just make sure you keep the heat fairly low so that it doesn't catch. So I would give it a stir every 5 to 8 minutes, just to make sure nothing is sticking and that it cooks really nice and evenly. You can always add a splash of water if it completely evaporates. And you can cook it for as long or as little as you want, depending on how much crunch you want left in the cabbage. Or you can cook it until it's completely soft and almost melts in the mouth. This has had about 15 minutes. I think I'll give it at least another 10 now. I've cooked this for about 30 minutes and the texture is perfect for me. It's lovely and soft, and then the more sort of stalky parts have a nice little bit of crunch and juiciness left in them. I love adding some spring onions to this dish, just adds a really nice freshness. And I'm just going to finely slice them. And for another finishing touch, some freshly chopped coriander. Just simply roll into a little bunch and then run your knife through it to finely slice it. The spring onion and coriander add a lovely bit of color, but also a nice bit of freshness and crunch. Then as a finishing touch, a little sesame oil adds a lovely toasted and nutty aroma to the final dish. And one last ingredient is a nice squeeze of fresh lime. And that is ready to serve. I would serve this miso-braised cabbage probably with some crispy tofu and some rice, or next to some coconut crusted tempeh. So good. Really, really nice. That just has the perfect balance between sweet, salty, umami, a nice bit of tang from the rice wine vinegar, and then some crunch from those spring onions. Really tasty.
I like your new hairstyle, Poppy. That's very cool. The little flip over here. Very groovy.
When you're not sure what to do with cabbage, finely shredding it is a great way to go, as it absorbs dressings and sauces so much more easily. I may be a little bit biased, as I've always hated a mayonnaise heavy coleslaw and much prefer a fresh shredded cabbage salad, especially when the weather starts to warm up. For this recipe, we layer flavor with citrus, spices and herbs to create some of the best cabbage you will ever try. For this salad, we're actually going to start with the dressing. So I'm just going to put a small pan over a medium heat, and we're going to make an amazing spiced oil. So I've got some cumin seeds, some coriander seeds, and some mustard seeds here, which we'll just add into a dry pan. And we're just going to gently toast these for a couple of minutes until they become lovely and fragrant and slightly darker in color. Once the mustard seeds start popping everywhere, you can switch off the heat and then add in your olive oil. And just swirl that around, and then we'll just leave that to cool. So to prepare your orange segments, all you're going to do is remove the top of the orange and the bottom, and then just put it onto one of the flat sides, and you're just going to run your knife just underneath the peel and round like so. And then just rotate the orange slightly and repeat the process until you've gone all the way around the orange. It can help to have a slightly flexible knife to do this, and a really nice sharp knife helps as well. By the end, you should have a nicely peeled orange, hopefully without any pith on. And then to remove the segments, just follow the lines, gently slide your knife in, and then go to the other side, and then the segment should just come out nice and easily. And then just repeat for the rest of the orange. You'll be left with this bit, which is mostly pith and a little bit of orange. And you can just squeeze that into the pan with the spices and the olive oil. And that's going to start forming our dressing. Really nice citrusy spiced dressing. And then the segments, you can keep them whole or you can just slice them slightly smaller. I'm just going to cut them in half on a slight angle. Into a bowl, we'll add our shredded cabbage, which I have just washed. I'm also going to add some grated carrot into this salad. I like to hold the carrot at quite an angle so you get really nice long streaks of carrot rather than 90 degrees where you just get small little pieces. The orange is going to add a lovely juiciness and sweetness to this salad. I'm going to add the oil, spices and orange juice into a jar. That went better than expected, I'm not going to lie. And then to that, I'm going to add a touch of Dijon mustard for even more spicy goodness. A touch of maple syrup, not too much, as we've got the orange in there. And then you can just shake that up. I think it might need a touch more acidity, so I might add some white wine vinegar. Let's give that a taste. Oh, that's so good. And then that beautiful spiced citrus dressing. Get it all in there. Those seeds are going to add a lovely crunch. And of course, we're just going to give that a good old toss together. Actually, I'm going to add a little dusting of sumac, which has a lovely sort of tart and citrusy flavor, and a touch of dried mint, but not too much, as it is quite strong. Some toasted nuts in here could be really nice. Maybe some pistachios or some cashews would be lovely. Because we've got the toasted seeds, of course, I think that should add a nice crunch. Now that is a delicious way to enjoy cabbage. It's gonna be so good. This dish is definitely more of a side dish, for example, at a barbecue, but if you want to make it into a more heartier salad, you could add some roasted chickpeas or roasted butter beans. Crispy lentils are good as well. And then if you wanted to make it into a beautiful summer meal, you could have it with some roasted balsamic tofu and some roast sweet potatoes. This salad really packs the punch in terms of flavor. You've got those free spices infused into the olive oil. Then you've got the freshness coming from the mint and the parsley. And then finally, a really nice sweet juiciness from that orange. Really nice, slightly different to your usual cabbage slaw. Give it a go and let me know what you think. Pickled or fermented cabbage is a great thing to have in the fridge ready to go. It's lovely next to curries, grain bowls, or on top of tacos for a bit of zing and crunch. It also takes barely any time to prepare, so let me show you how it's done. The first step for this pickled cabbage is to season it generously with some salt. I'm using kosher salt here, and we're going to give it a good massage. I've just shredded this cabbage and it's been washed as well. Now this is an optional step, but I do find it makes the cabbage extra crunchy once it's been pickled. So once you've massaged that cabbage in just for a minute or so, you can set it aside and leave it for about 15 to 20 minutes. Now you can use any aromatics for your pickling liquor. I'm going to add in some coriander seeds, about a teaspoon for their lovely citrusy note. Also going to add in some lemon peel to carry on that citrusy goodness, and just a few fennel seeds. And then to the pan, I'm going to add some apple cider vinegar. You can use red wine vinegar, you could use white wine, it's up to you. And then half the quantity of vinegar I'm going to add of water. And then we'll add some sugar, a small pinch of salt, and then we're going to bring that to a boil. Once it's simmering away nicely and all the sugar has dissolved, give it a taste and see if you think it's sweet enough or maybe it needs a little bit more salt, and then that is good to go. So I've just given the cabbage a good squeeze to remove as much moisture as possible, and now we're just going to pack it into this jar. And then just pour your hot pickling liquor over the cabbage. Make sure it's all nicely submerged. And then leave it to pickle for at least 1 day, but to be honest, it's going to taste amazing in just 1 hour. This has only been pickling for about half an hour, but frankly, I'm going to bed soon, so let's give this a try and see how it is. Oh, that's good. Really nice and sweet. That just has everything you want from a pickle. It's sweet, it's salty, it's tangy, and it has a nice sort of citrusy note coming from the lemon peel and those spices. Definitely give this a go. You can switch up the aromatics if you want to, and it's a great way to preserve your cabbage. Thank you so much for watching. Cabbage may have a lot of fiber, but it doesn't have a whole lot of protein, so check out these tofu recipes and complete the meal.